Hey guys, welcome back to our journey in Python programming. I guess you have been bored with this pickup line that I have been repeating in each and every section. So let's try out something new. Welcome to this fresh new section of Python programming. And in this section, we are going to jump with advanced topics in class and objects. Now, class and objects are really advanced topics that you have been using, but you never even know that you have been using a part of it. So everything from the list, strings, methods, everything were based on some class and objects. So before jumping into class and objects, something that I want to tell you that we have been discussed in the first lecture where we have discussed about the introduction sections. We have told you that Python is an object oriented programming language. We'll get into that in the next slide, but let's look into what all we have completed. So we started from data types, we jump into file handling, then we had comparison operators, we learned about all the operators that Python is having. Then we looked into the methods that different data types are having. We have conditional statement, loops, loop control statement. Then we jumped into functions, lambda functions, map function, filter. All of these were covered. Some advanced topics were again covered over there. After that, we did some projects. Now that everything has been completed, you can only jump to this section. Please make this as a note and mark it out that you can only jump in this section once you have completed everything in the previous section very nicely and you don't have any doubts in any of those sections. I hope all of the examples that I have given back there were much more useful to you. Okay. Only when you have completed each and every video, you have practiced through the notes, you have gone through each and every questions, you are understanding each and every sentence that I have spoken of in the previous videos, then only jump to this section. From this section, the advanced topics begins, and these topics are advanced. So you need the prerequisites that you have in Python to be a solid base. So what I've done before is created a solid base for you, and now we are going to build a building in above that base. So let's start with class and object. Refresh your brains, take a break, have a drink or something, and then let's start up with the video. So class and objects. Now, as I've told you before, Python is an object-oriented programming language. Almost everything in Python. So what I mean everything, I mean literally everything from the data types, functions, all of that. Everything in Python is an object with its properties and methods. If you could recall, let's say I have a string value that is str value inside of that. Let me write Paul. Let's write Paul. Okay, and then let's pass, okay, let's write this str1 and let's pass a method str, then let's pass upper function upper. So this is a method that we were having with a dot operator. Now exactly what was str, what is this method, and how can we create a method of my own? We have been using is a data type of that is predefined, have been created before, and the methods were already predefined. Now how to create something of us, how to create something that belongs to a particular class. Okay. All of these string was a class and the methods of that were belonging to that class, so they were the data members of that particular class. I know all of these sentences are not much making sense right now, but once we complete this complete section, we have a bunch of videos in this, and we have an equal ratio for theory plus practical in these sessions. So let's start with the theory part, then we will jump into Jupyter Notebook, have a quick view on all of that, then again back into our presentation, then again jump back to Jupyter Notebook. So we are going to repeat this process, we are going to solve out some interesting problems in this, and then I'm going to make sure that you understand each and every problem into this. We are going to solve some very high level problems that are present in competitive programming also. So I've picked up some very nice questions for you guys so that you get your hands-on experience on this. So let's jump into class. So what I mean by class and what exactly is a class. So let's start with class. Class is a user-defined blueprint or prototype from which objects are created. I know this might not make much sense, but once we jump into the presentation, that is from the presentation to the Jupyter notebook, then we are gonna have a quick view into this. Now, classes provides a means of bundling data and functionality together. Creating a new class creates a new type of object, allowing new instances of that type to be made. Okay. Each class instance can have attributes attached to it for maintaining its state. Class instances can also have methods for modifying their state. Okay, so if we have an instance of a class, we can also have methods that particular class. So we have a class, let's say CLS class. This is something the class name, and then we can have various methods of it on. So all the predefined class that we were having a class string somewhere stored predefined, and then we have a method upper, lower, and all the other len. All of these were present in that particular class of string. To understand the need of for creating a class, let's consider an example. Let's say you wanted to track the number of dogs that may have different attributes like breed, age, etc. If a list is used, the first element could be dog's breed, while the second element could be representing dog's age. Let's suppose there are 100 different dogs, then how would you know which element is supposed to be which? So we have two things. Let's say we have a name of the dog and we have the age of the, so name and age. Okay, now let's suppose there are 100 different dogs. So 100 different dogs will be having 100 different list, or you cannot continue that in a single list. So you are going to have 100 different list for all the dogs. You're gonna have a name and you're gonna have a age. Then how would you know which element is supposed to be which? What if you wanted to add other properties to the dog? Now one problem has been already seen. Okay. Second problem will be, what if you want to add something more into this? What if you want to add other properties of this dog? This lacks organization, and it's the exact need for classes. Class creates a user-defined data structure which holds its own data, members, and member functions, which can be accessed and used by creating an instance of that class. A class is like a blueprint for an object. So let's jump into the syntax part of it. Classes are created by the keyword class. Attributes are the variables that belong to a class. So whatever you write inside the class, the attributes that you are going to write, these are the variables. Okay, so let's define a class. Class stood. Inside of that, 2 colon. Okay, colon is necessary, don't ever forget that. And then inside of that, if I write, let's write pi equal to 3.14. So attributes are the variable that belong to a class. So pi is an attribute of class stood. What is a class? Class is a blueprint. Okay. Attributes are always public and can be accessed using the dot operator. If you could recall our list, string, anything, we were always having a dot operator. After that dot operator, we were writing a method. So if you want to recall the answer of pi, so you can just write stood dot pi. So it will give you the value 3.14. So this is the syntax of it. We have class, class name, and then whatever statements you're gonna write inside of that. So that's a quick example of classes. Let's look into one more example. So class, let's write big class. Let's jump into student, class student, and inside of this I'm gonna write age, role, and I'm gonna write age 21, role is 159. Okay, that these are the attributes that belong to a class, and this is the class and this is the class name. Okay, you can also create an empty class. For creating an empty class, you just have to write class, and let's write stud, and then you can just write pass. Okay, so that's how you can create a class. That's it for this video. In our next video, we are going to know about what exactly is an object and how to create an object, and how can object help us get us the methods and values or data members of a particular class. So let's jump into our next video.